Ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you this will be well worth the wait. Live on Sportswire Radio, where figuratively and literally all wrestling matters. And our guest here tonight, you might want to say, is one of those founding fathers of all wrestling matters. And we think about the current state of backyard and underground wrestling. Our guest is certainly one of those people that is a true definition of an institution. Certainly as somebody behind the scenes, somebody in the ring, outside the ring, this man has done it all. This man has also helped craft the careers of the likes of Shalance Royal. Everybody knows Shalance Royal all around the wrestling world. You think about Skrilla, who, by the way, was just an MLW literally a few short hours ago. Not too bad. And this man has actually defeated Skrilla. Maybe he's the reason why Skrilla ran and took his ball home and had to go elsewhere. I'll get into that. He's also a part of a career of a man that is arguably one of the best American independent wrestlers over the past several years, and Mr. Fred Yehi. And Fred Yehi has actually wrestled, let me think of some names. Josh Alexander, the walking weapon. Not too bad. How about Rich Swann? Wrestled him not once but twice. Pretty impressive. But also in many ways, our guest tonight is the true definition of hardcore. And I actually came up with something that I like to describe our guest here tonight for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio who might be wondering just who is our guest. The word hardcore has two definitions in the dictionary, and those two definitions are first, the most active, committed, or strict members of a group or a movement. That first word and first definition is important when it comes to the word hardcore in our guest, because he has been a part of a movement that was called GWC Intensity, one of the longest running episodic series shows, not only in backyard wrestling history or underground wrestling history, but all wrestling history. And after all, we are all wrestling matters. And that was also a part of a thing called the Global Backyard Wrestling Network, which many people still fondly recall on this platform. And the second part for that definition is the word hardcore means highly committed in one's support or dedication to something. There is no question that our guest has been right up there alongside the likes of Oswego Jones and also even Drew the Wolf Olson, who will always remember on this platform, and Charmander, and especially a guy that a lot of people affectionately know now on this platform is kind of the backyard wrestling version of Dave Meltzer, our ambassador of backyard and underground wrestling, and AKA Copper Dragon, or otherwise once known as the California Kid. And certainly our guest tonight had many, many battles with him. We'll talk about all of that, but we'll also talk about some current events, which also includes his role and duties as the general manager for Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling, which is one of the premier wrestling places around in the Atlanta, Georgia area for backyard wrestling and others. And they had an event last month. We'll talk about that. Plus, we'll talk about whatever else this man wants, because after all, he is the definition of hardcore, and I've already stated that. And he's even going to have a surprise in a little while, but I'll save that for him because he actually doesn't know who this surprise is. But I could go on and on and on about our guest, and I certainly will throughout the next hour and a half to 2 hours. But until then, it is time to give him that introduction that even a guy who's now called the psychopath, Xavier Thorne, has gotten, and he'll tell us how in many ways he's responsible for Xavier Thorne. And boy, he's looking at me already mad. He's like, okay, I want to get off this interview already. But no, not so fast. It is time to give him that introduction. And especially after all, since Copper Dragon, who's already in our Hall of Fame, the only person who ever on his first interview was already put right into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. That's how much we thought of Copper Dragon. And I can assure you what I'm going to give our guest in a little while, you'll certainly see how much we think of him as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right to it because we're about to go into prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, and there's no better person who has mattered more in the All Wrestling Matters movement than our guest. So, with without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show, the one-time general manager for JWC Intensity, one of the longest episodic shows in wrestling history. The current general manager for Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling, his name is simply put, Mr. How are you, my friend?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for asking. How are you doing?
Ask me after like 12 o'clock midnight tonight with my voice. You can ask me that question then right now. I'm going to say I'm good, but my voice may have a difference of opinion in a little while. It's an absolute honor to have you, and there's a lot to get into, and we've even got some things to talk about in the non-wrestling world. You were a part of a music video that's basically gotten, 500,000 views. You were a part of a movie called Peanut Butter Falcon. I've actually got the proof in the pudding for that and all, but I'm going to start off in the current tense because I always like to at least stay relevant. You are actually still relevant right now, Mr. Hardcore, for those that are listening and watching, because you are the general manager for Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. There's a couple of shows up on the YouTube channel of Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. And also we had an event last month. And for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, talk about Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling and what's ahead.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, they contacted me a while back. I thought to myself, well, I think it was a Thursday when they did it. And I thought, oh, the future Jermaine Hardwick had contacted me through Messenger. He had asked if I was interested in being their general manager. I haven't actually done anything with underground or backyard wrestling in at least 3 years. Had to take some recuperating time off. Yeah. Had to take time off, had to repair some things that were broken, and over that time able to come to grips with certain things that were happening personally in life and helping me get on a better mental pathway. I know on the show we talk about all the time men's mental health and how important that is.
This month is Men's Mental Health Month, actually.
Yes, and I've been personally in therapy for about 3 years to help balance things out and get me on a better track. And so the signs were in the air per se. So when I got the invitation to become their general manager, I thought to myself, why not? I'm not active roster. And so that has to be very important to understand. I'm not here to do any getting belts. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm not here to take the shine from anyone. If anything, I'm just here to make sure that the roster builds, grows, and the production value of the show increases and gets better over time. Right now, we are currently in the midst of fixing our ring that we are currently using. Our next show is in August. So we hopefully will have time to be able to gather the money needed to repair said fixes. And then August should be a good show month.
What can we expect in some of the talent? Obviously, we see some of them there. Jermaine the Future Hardwick. We see Vegas Storm, Weebay, War Money Mafia. There'll be a name I'll certainly bring up, I'm sure, in a little while or so. I'll certainly save that. But just talk about some of the talent and how excited you are for people to watch them in the ring.
Actually, this last past show on Stopping Grounds, I actually got to watch War Money Mafia in action.
Yep.
And I cannot express how excited I was at what I saw. The simple maneuver bringing back the back chop made me so giddy that, and I saw the refreshment of it in general. That we always get the front chest chop. Yeah, those are impactful. Those are hurtful. Those are
Everybody does
meaningful.
those. Yeah, I got that.
But the back ones can be just as equally bad. And the fact that they usually use two hands when doing it makes it even worse. And their feel, their vibe, they're so fresh and new, yet at the same time they're familiar, like Street Profits or iconic tag teams of that
The
nature.
Usos, sure. New Day. I
Right.
got it. Yep.
Absolutely, because they flow so well together. And Rich Boy Richie and the icon Devin, my goodness, I can expect great things from them. The fact they come from Virginia, which means we have been opening the doors to other backyarders to come if they are close by. Alabama, come on in. Tennessee, come on down. Whoever the future would like to be in his company, I support it 100%.
Absolutely, no question about that. And I also want to put it out there if when we get more details for the show in August, I would obviously love to speak with some of the talent and obviously get a chance to know them a little bit. And if there is tickets that are on sale, I'd also obviously like to buy a ticket to support the cause because that's always what I like to do on Sportswire Radio. Is if there is a show coming up, I always like to give a token of my support and donation. We see War Money Mafia here, and again, they're obviously a team a lot of people want to see, and I think it speaks volumes to what you guys are doing in terms of just bringing in talent from different places. Let me ask you this question. I have a lot of comments. I want to get to people. I know people were waiting a while for you to come on, and I have some friends that want to ask me some questions on movies, which I'll give them a thought or two, but you've obviously been in this game a long time. You're obviously, to me, one of the founding fathers of the current state of backyard wrestling. You've meant so much. Obviously, GWC Intensity, one of the most successful episodic shows, not just in backyard, but in all of wrestling history. You've obviously been a part of the Global Backyard Wrestling Network. You're right up there with Mr. Dragon himself. And what advice are you giving these particular wrestlers here on the roster?
Basically, don't stop doing anything that you're currently doing because you have no idea what eyes are watching you as you're doing it. That goes to those who are just doing ground. You don't have the funds to do a ring. That's fine. That's okay. That's where I started. I built MTWA up from a ground. Absolutely
Everybody
nothing.
started on the ground or the mat, the trampoline.
Correct.
It's not, it is actually something. It's not the end of the world.
So, but what I would encourage is progression. Don't stay stagnant. Don't don't just go and be like, all right, this is good enough. Always progress to the next level and do what you have to, or whatever you can. Save up money, get a GoFundMe, whatever it is to get funds to make the show better, to make your dreams more successful. Because in this pathway, we're basically making our own dreams come true. Because
Absolutely.
of
No, there's no
because
question
of
about
my experiences,
it. Mhm.
my personal experiences, I can literally say I've been in a music video and a movie before I ever had to be in a national wrestling
Oh, I've
company.
got the proof of that. I'm going to put it up in a little while. I actually have the proof of that. Yeah, that's actually.
So
Thank you
the
for
fact
stealing
of
the notes.
the fact of people are watching you. They are constantly watching you. And the problem is we just don't know when. We don't know under what circumstance. Uh, but you'll know because they'll reach out. Uh,
Absolutely, no question about that.
so don't stop with progression. Don't stop learning, not until you're done. Um, enjoy what you're doing. Make the memories of what you're doing. But as depressing as it is or nihilistic, everything comes to an end at some point.
Well,
Doesn't mean you have to stop. Doesn't mean you have to, quit and disappear. But certain aspects are going to stop at some point. But just continue and give back. That's really all you can do. Keep
I
the
think that's
sport going.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. Although you get me depressed that this is going to end this
That
interview, but let's hope it
I mean,
doesn't end
well,
right now. I was
um,
kidding. It's a joke.
I mean, technically, that's why it's like right now, with all the accolades from the opening speech that you had given me, I like to give each flower back to each individual who is watching, who is
Sure.
attending, who has helped, who has continued to help, who travels, who knows the struggles, who understands the achievement of the belt, who understands the pressure of holding said belt, the understanding of who you are as a person while you are doing your craft. I give each of you a flower because of the fact that you keep the spirit alive, you keep the sport alive, you keep the art alive. And I have to give you multiple flowers, my reverend, because you are the voice of this
Oh.
entire movement,
Uh-oh. I
which
appreciate that.
makes
That's nice
me
of you.
happy because in this platform, as general manager, I'm now possibly have portals to inject more corruption to other federations.
Well, you certainly do have that ability to inject more corruption, and we won't hold it against you that Xavier Thorne is somebody you've actually molded. It's a joke. I actually love Xavier Thorne, but the point is that obviously, I appreciate the kind words, and I do look forward to having some of your talent come on here before maybe August is his show. But I have a lot of comments. We've actually put up one of the shows, and there's Cliff Balcom, and obviously you'll see some other stars come out here. I'll put it up before I transition, but let me say hello to some people here. Want to say hello to Kevin James. Kevin, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Interested to see and hear this one, watching the H2O show that's on now as well, though. Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Want to say hello to my good buddy who's here Thursday Night Live, Mr. Jake Dvorak, who used to be Jake Matthews. He is part of NEW's Underground Riot in the Ring. He's the owner of that company. He's also their champion, and he's also doing something which I think in a lot of ways is taking the spirit of the Global Backyard Wrestling Network, all wrestling matters into one, in the Riot in the Ring. It's 15 companies are a part of it, all over from the United States, in the North, the South, the Midwest, the Mideast, and that's such a thing, and everywhere in between. And he's doing a great job with it. And I'm excited to talk about that with him Thursday night at about 8 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And thank you, Jake, as always, for tuning in. And we'll talk to you on Thursday if you have more comments. There we go. Want to say hello to Mr. OK all the way out there in the UK for our friends over in Cutlery Championship Wrestling, otherwise known as Cutlery Community Wrestling. Hope you're doing well. I want to say hello to the company that I own a portion of, the Pride Wrestling Federation. And yes, it's not me on YouTube because I'm actually talking right now on the microphone, but thank you, obviously, for one of the companies that is going to tune in shortly. Want to say hello to my very dear friend, Mr. Tribal Cheese, who is one of our more recent Hall of Famers in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. How is everyone this evening? I'm pretty good. I mean, I couldn't complain. I'm not outside right now because in New York it's like 8,000 degrees, and I'm talking to people all over the world, including yourself, and of course the one and only Mr. Hardcore. I walked out of a film in the cinema, The Bike Riders. I have not seen it yet. The most recent movie I have seen is Bad Boys Ride or Die, which I recommend. I am hoping to go to the movies this week. It has been so hot in New York, I almost don't want to go outside. But actually, I've been working a lot and I've been on this platform. So that really kind of handicaps my hobbies. But I'm hoping to go back to the movies later this week. Kevin's happy with this. Want to say hello to our resident Zilla. How you doing there, Zilla? I got a good question, though, for you actually when it comes to future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. Are there any psycho characters on future Atlanta Pro Wrestling, Mr. Hardcore? That's a good question from Blake, and thank you, Blake, for tuning in. And hopefully you hit the sub button for us at Sportswire Radio 6579, and also hit the sub button for future Atlanta Pro Wrestling.
To be perfectly honest, when it comes to psychopathic gimmicks,
Hmm.
I haven't met everyone yet. I
Ah.
just really started back in May, maybe
Mm,
March, maybe,
mm,
something like that. So it's not been that long. So I get to. I'm in the stage of meeting everyone. We
mm.
do have on our group list Mr. LaFlame. I'm hoping to
Oh,
meet
I
him
know Mr.
soon.
LaFlame. Ah, so you know D'Angelo LaFlame. Rather interesting.
Absolutely.
I
Yes,
saw
we have
through the
shared phone
grapevine.
calls.
I
Yes,
saw through the grapevine Mr. D'Angelo LaFlame was wrestling today in Atlanta, actually, through the grapevine.
not surprised. There's probably other places as
A
well.
lot of other places. He was in Massachusetts. He's been in
Oh yeah,
Tennessee. He's in
I can't
Ohio.
wait to personally meet
He's
him.
going everywhere. Yep.
I'm, this is and technically, Tom, I've been watching your show since Mr. Thorne dropped his video to FAPW, and I can't wait to meet most of these gentlemen.
Oh, so you're excited to meet Mr. LaFlame and Mr. Thorne,
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely,
Really?
absolutely. As
Do-
general manager, I am welcome committee to others who travel and come across.
I see. But Mr. Thorne, excited on Mr. Thorne, huh?
Um, well,
Somebody you know very well.
let's let's just say the owner decided his services were no longer required.
I figured that because obviously that's kind of been
Yeah.
the running theme in his career. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he is now in Resurrection Pro Wrestling, and it seems like he's learning under the tutelage of the likes of Mac 10 and the real deal Anthony Steele is here, and Mr.
And I
LaFlame
told
comes
him
from Resurrection Pro Wrestling.
that's
So
exactly what I told him. I told him he needed to listen to Mac 10, to Mr. Steele, and to anyone else who is giving them the time of day to help him. And I've put up with him since 2019.
that's kind of like Mr. Dragon was when he was here, as I'm sure you're aware. It was very gentlemanly like when his name came up often on the air, which to credit of Mr. Dragon, he basically, was wishing him well, but didn't really want to talk very much about Mr. Thorne, obviously. Didn't want to, talk about him too well.
Well, yes, but then again, there are people out there that know exactly why.
I'm gonna say that I'm hoping Mr. Thorne is doing well tonight, and I want to say that
Oh, me
he
too.
is.
I hope as well. The owner decided to go the way he wanted to go. I'm
That's why
not
I
very
didn't bring him
upset
up
him.
so much on the future Atlanta Pro Wrestling side, but we're watching some of it. Let me get to some more comments. Want to say hello to a man that was very successful yesterday for Dominant Breakout Wrestling's Total Domination 9, Mr. Jackson Snow, and obviously he was very dominant in his most recent performance. I mean, he literally could have killed people in what he did in his show yesterday. He's the World Extreme Champion over there. Very, very impressive, and he says good evening, and he'd probably be a guy that would fit well into any hardcore wrestling scene. And he's probably going to be hopefully tuned in and happy, and hopefully everybody's happy tuning in. Anthony Steele says yo, 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 which means I. So we'll take this off the screen. I got the point. If you want to follow Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling, you're more than welcome to do that. Mr. Hardcore has not met the coach, Chris Craven, because he doesn't work in the same company as him because Mr. Hardcore is from Atlanta. Mr. Craven is from Maryland. So, but I'm sure that they'll see each other one day. I like how Hardcore pulled his shades of when my name was mentioned, laughing my ass off. Anything you want to say?
Hello. Oh, that's because I love him. I want to make sure I'm reading his comments. I don't want to not read what he has to say. I haven't seen him in a long time, and technically, I can't wait for us to hang out again.
Anything you want to share on the big hangouts?
Um, hmm.
You don't have to. I can move on and obviously
Yeah,
get.
that's fine.
Well, I am going to move on because there's actually something I'd like to be able to present to you because there's a lot to get to, and I have a surprise in a few minutes for you. So let me do that here. So obviously, I wanted to. You've done so much for this sport. You've obviously meant so much. We'll talk about GWC intensity shortly. We'll talk about the music videos, the movies, but I wanted to give you something because you've meant so much to this sport, and let me do it now, only if you insist. By the way.
Of course, go ahead by all means.
I appreciate that. So let me do that. Let me get to my technical, logical differences here. So let me do that here right now. So, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, I have officially named you for all the great things that you've done. I know it's obviously been said and done, but I wanted to officially nominate you from this platform and give you a certificate of appreciation as being one of the founding fathers of backyard wrestling, this current tense, everything you've done going back to GWC Intensity, the Global Backyard Wrestling Network. And you've obviously meant so much over these past 20 plus years. And everything that you've done and molding the careers of the likes of Skrilla, Fred Yehi, although you've certainly had some differences with him. Skrilla, you've defeated in the ring, Shalonce Royal, Oswego Jones. It's a long list of people, but I wanted to obviously give my token of appreciation to you and thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you so much, Tom. That means so much. Validation is so appreciated. To be perfectly honest, I don't really walk around talk about anything that I ever done. Um, I just work my job and do all my moral responsibilities that I have to in life. And shoot, I think the only time I ever got recognized was I was getting tires done, and the person who was working there recognized me from GWC Intensity, and that's probably the only time. It's just good memories and things that I appreciated that I was able to go through and get into and have basically fall into my lap. Um, so thank you so much. I welcome it and I appreciate it. It's technically like a second one since this is the famous GWC Medal of Intensity that
I'm aware of the
Callie was
history
talking
that's
about.
there.
So the second appreciation, and I do appreciate that. And with love, I accept.
Well, I appreciate that. We'll certainly give you the physical copy when we're off the air. And let me get to a couple of other things. Default stable takeover.
Oh, see that's the best thing. That's the best thing about this show. It opens up portals to other federations. That
Well, that's
yeah,
what we've done with this thing, Summer Bash. We have, I think it's like a dozen companies, and there's companies from all over the place, guys that are independent wrestlers, guys from other places. Mr. LaFlame is an example of a guy that I think is this is where he's going to really break out and shine even further. And he's already been in so many different places: Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia today, and Massachusetts. You're going to see him in Ohio, and you're going to see people from all over the place. And I think that that's kind of really, you and Mr. Dragon and so many others had that spirit with the Global Backyard Wrestling Network, GWC Intensity, all the things that you did. And I think that this platform is kind of taking the bull by the horns with where we've brought people and re-brought people into the wrestling world again. And I think of guys like Sean Jovi, who was around years ago. Jake Dvorak was obviously around during the time of the Global Backyard Wrestling. My guest on Friday's show, Brian White, who's obviously now part of IWA Deep South, wrestled in the match that maybe is the most violent match in GBYWN history. It's a long list of people that are a part of the GBYWN, and they're kind of being reborn here almost.
yeah, yeah. I think it's a new resurgence in a way. This platform's growing, of course, and that opens up the different doors, which means bigger events can happen. I'm hoping for something that maybe in the future the right people get together from different areas, it's like a council, and have a random chosen place a year to have a massive event in which all federations come and either cross promote or finish up storylines or begin new ones or whatever it be. The fact of, and basically bring eyes from local news standards to us. Beforehand, we're doing a really great job. We're getting out there, we're spreading, we're growing, we're doing what we need to. But now it's time to get the attention. It's time to go out there and make a mark. Uh, Even if it is a once a year type, say, weekend convention, but it's nothing but wrestling, meeting backyard wrestlers, almost the same as any WrestleFest, I guess, that you would technically go to. But it's for us, and it's ours.
Yeah, I think
And
that there's no question that the community, we're a tight knit community. We really should be, because there's obviously all this, so much against us and so many different things. And the name is a dirty word, backyard wrestling, underground wrestling. But I tend to think that 80% of us really are in it for the right reasons, the right causes, and I really believe that this movement of Summer Bash and all wrestling matters, and it's really something that most people will feel united from. And I can't tell you how many people message me and talk about it and how they feel like they're reborn, they're rejuvenated. And I go with a quote before I'm about to do something. And I have a surprise for you still, which I'm going to get to in a second. But it's a quote that I'm often reminded of. And it's a quote from a guy, Gabe Sayers, who's a guy that, again, started out as a Twitch streamer, became a yarder, and is now learning under the tree of Paul Roma and Mario Mancini. Just wrestled in GTS, the main event there against Graham a couple weeks ago. And wrestling is a beautiful art form. Backyard wrestlers, we often get shitted on, we're often disrespected, but we always need to remember to keep wrestling, keep working to where you want to go. Hard or no, hard in every time. We're all ready to kick some ass, and that to me is really the true definition of what it is. And also the words of Hillbilly Tilly, our general manager, like you, the only general manager at the moment in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, although I have a feeling that will probably change soon, is that true wrestlers in the backyard do it for the love of this sport. And there's no question in my mind that wrestlers in the yard and the underground do it because they love it. They put their blood, sweat, and tears out there every single time. You have been one of those founding fathers of it. That's why I wanted to honor you. And I have no doubt, whether it's this platform, whether it's anything related to the All Wrestling Matters movement, guys within it, guys outside of it, Summer Bash itself, to me, this is the start of something special. But, I know that there's a lot I got to get into with you, but I have a special surprise from somebody from your past. And no, it's not Copper Dragon, and no, it's not Xavier Thorne, because you would probably want to beat me up like the way you used to beat Skrilla up all those years ago. But I thought you'd like that one. But I actually have this person here, and boy, do I want to bring him on. Now, you don't know who this is, but do I have your permission for me to allow you to bring him on?
absolutely.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, you're about to see him because he's here, and certainly his name you might remember is none other than Mr. Rodney Casket, the desperado himself. Dun, dun,
Hello,
dun.
Mr. Casket.
Hey, what's going on, man?
How you
Well,
doing, my friend? Sorry for making you wait, but
oh,
technically,
it's all good. Oh, good. Thank you for having me, Tom, man. I'm excited to be here, bro. I appreciate that, man. I love that intro.
I appreciate that. I wish you were here to have it. We'll get you here and do one of those. But what brings you here, Mr. Casket? I mean, I hope you're not trying to put Mr. Hardcore in a casket, but it's good to see you here. And what brings you here for this special occasion?
I am here, man, just to represent the future Atlanta Pro Wrestling, and I'm having difficulty. I'm sorry. But I am here, man, to represent all these guys in the backyard wrestling, man, and just trying to have other people come in and join us, man, and have some fun.
Well, I think that's probably well said, and I hope that your technical difficulties will get fixed here shortly. But I'll come back to you, and hopefully you'll come back into the camera here shortly. But
I
you
know,
know,
right?
Mr. Hardcore, I wanted to ask you a question because obviously you were the GM of GWC. You obviously were the GM of MCWA, and I'm curious for the audience, and what made GWC the place to be for all those years from your vantage point?
So, okay. So in certain life, in life in general, to succeed, there are certain things that have to be done. Um, Around 2011, it been early 2011, is when I started MCW back up for like the second or third time, and that's when I released my first intro promo, Turn Mr. Hardcore, and other things. And over time, it only took about, I would say, a couple of years, maybe, if that, and it started to fold. Now, Copper said on many occasions that MCWA is one of the most underrated seasons of GWC intensity. We just had fun. We just had a blast. Uh, didn't really take anything seriously. Uh, really just out to entertain as many people as possible by any means necessary. Uh, as things progressed and the roster started to die away again, and Sebastian Shaw kind of departed again, and Steve Austin started to depart, and um, in a way, not really Asiago, since he too is a fellow stable member. I won't call him by his original gimmick name because that's
Appreciate
he
that.
didn't know what the name meant when he had it the first time until someone told him what it meant, and that's when we went with the change. But basically, uh, I went free agent, and me and Callie worked together at WGXA News, and I was directing the morning show. He was my audio guy, and I'd stumbled upon his footage because I was looking back up again, trying to figure out, where we're going to go, how we're going to, it's getting to a point where we should be doing something again. And I approached him and said, "So you're a California kid?" And his eyes got saucer big. And and we've been friends literally ever since. And that was probably about, let's say, 2010, 2011 esque. And, just really worked together. And he saw something special in MCWA. But as we progressed, I went to BACW and became a free agent basically, and filled in for Caleb Cross for the round robin tournament in BACW, and faced Cali for the first time. Um, that was a fun one. That was, people always want to say, "I want to match with them." No, you don't. No, you don't. He will take you to school and he will have fun doing it, and technically doing it as well. Um, but I sacrificed MCWA. And in doing so, that allowed MGBYW to come in, which they were a deathmatch fed. That's where Skrilla got his start. That's where people like Genocide got his start, which you'll see him in future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. D's started there. Zero started there. Freak Show, Copperhead.
Yep.
That was the death match. I was also GM for them as well, and that was during our massive attack against pro wrestling during the Backyard versus Pro storyline with BACW. But sacrificing MCWA and bringing together DPW that was going on in Gray, Georgia, and MGBYW with a little mixture of MCWA into one show, that was the magic. That was the key. Because everyone strived to be the best. Everyone strived to get better. They wanted to do better, to look better, to sound and be better. And, I did my matches here and there, but really I started doing general manager positions, storyline,
Well,
asked for it.
you guys were good at developing talent. I mean, even to this day, in 2024, right before I bring in Rodney, we talk about Skrilla, we talk about Fred Yehi. I mean, these guys are like legitimate, wrestling stars. Skrilla is made such a name for himself. I mentioned who Fred Yehi has wrestled. I mean, it's an amazing list. Shalonce Royal, who interviewed you years ago, Mr. Hardcore. Look at what she's done. I mean, you really,
Absolutely.
what you did, you're one of the few places that, we always talk about, yeah, backyard, going to go indie. But the people that you had, like, didn't just not only go into the indies, they just broke through the door and wound up just, breaking the glass ceiling and becoming like really, really big deals. I think that speaks volumes to the company that you ran in terms of just everything that it was. And, that's why I say you guys meant so much. And Rodney, obviously you were a part of it and, you got to see it, you wrestled in it. Anything you want to share on that, Rodney?
Oh, yeah, of course. Man, you know what? In 2015, I was going to the WWE. I was about to train, and the thing was, I was a temp, right? So I couldn't get that job when I was a trainee. So I was like, man, my heart is just being to give in the ring, because like for doing it for 95 all the way to 2005, where all the friends kind of went away. I just wanted to get in the ring and wrestle. I didn't care about, it's just like, I just had no person. I didn't know that, the backyard had a, and so I Googled it, and literally Googled, um, backyard wrestling ring. What happened with OD, okay, Money, I seen his phone. So I said, dude, y'all got a real ring. He's like, yeah. I was like, man, can I join? And it was 2015. He was like, man, and you think you can come down? And, I can get a reliable conversation, and I'm there. And dude, it took me years though, but in 2008, I made my debut in Christmas back in 2018, and I'm literally but when I got in that, man, I felt like home. Tony, I feel like home, and I was just proud, grateful to be there. And from there, it started, and we was trying to build our roster. So it took another year just to finally get a single match. I finally did it, man. And dude, ridiculous. It was my goal, man. Just to take it this far, because all the guys I wrestle with in my neighborhood, um, they no longer do it. I'm the only one, still back there wrestling. And like you said earlier, how people take it as a joke, man. Like, they literally laugh at me. I remember wrestling, like, and people would just laugh at me. Wrestling, y'all do that stuff. And I say, it's the best. And but being part of the GW down the people for wrestling, it's awesome, man. I'm and this will be a year. This is the highlight of my career, honestly, man. And I'm just so grateful, man. But I'm looking forward to doing what I can to build this thing on up. Get it help.
Absolutely, no question about that. We're watching some of the footage of Mr. Hardcore and this guy that's now known as Copper Dragon, but was then known as the California Kid. And Mr. Hardcore, so many years. Let me ask you both this question. I know people want to say hello. I'm going to get to them shortly. I know Anthony Steele's got some comments. I'm going to try to get to everybody, but I want to give these legends the opportunity. Plus, I want to present Rodney something. He's going to probably really either want to kill me or put me in a casket after. Maybe both. But did you guys know that Copper Dragon would morph into this guy that he's become in the backyard, our version of Dave Meltzer? He's literally become, and I sponsor him now. I actually sponsor him, which is kind of a small world. He's probably going to kill me for saying, because he's put so many videos in the last 3 days, and I'm trying to watch some of them, but I can't watch all of them because he's put 200 of them in the last 3 days, and I'm trying to check them out, but I've checked a couple of them out. But did you guys know that he would morph into this person that, really is become like our Dave Meltzer, but is to me far more respected, because I look at Meltzer and, not to say that I don't like him, but I think there's a biasness there in certain things. And, he doesn't really know the world of the wrestlers he's interviewing, but Copper Dragon, he's been in all these guys' shoes. So when he talks and when he reviews someone's match, I'm looking at it and saying, yeah, you know what? I know what he's saying. I'm listening to him. But did you guys know that he would morph into this person that's really again, our Dave Meltzer?
No. I mean, I didn't think because when I joined, kind of behind the stage, and I did not know he was so big, like Dave Meltzer. I honestly didn't know, but he deserved it. And now that he's so big, I'm so proud to be a part of his organization. Man. So, just to say that I was under his hand, and he gave me to be myself, just do, and I deserve it. He's just, and what can I say? I didn't see it coming because he was behind the scenes, and I believe he was prepared there. Now he's doing amazing things. Man. So shout out to him, man. Copper Dragon.
Absolutely, no question about that. No question about that. I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, so I want to go back to Mr. Hardcore. I want to ask you the same question. just about what we've seen now in the California Kid morphing into Copper Dragon. Did you see this coming?
Yeah, absolutely did. So during my time as GM of of GWC Intensity, he was commissioner. And this is where I knew we would work so well as a tag team. He was the dragon on the mountain. I was the demon in the pit. Either way you go, your ass is going to get fire. And so, in a way, I knew he would take it to the next level because moving over to San Diego, back to San Diego, um, he could do just so much, but from a distance. So, in a way, this is him able to help critique and train everyone since he really can't be around everyone. So, yeah, I saw him doing this and going this route because it's his way of giving back. That's why it's like people can ask, "Did you watch my match? Did you watch this match?" That's not me to critique. That's
funny
not.
because I think in one of the companies that he rates a lot of matches for, which really loves him, ROEW, and that's a company owned by James Taylor, who interviewed Mr. Dragon, and he's obviously a close friend of mine. And one of their wrestlers, well, two of their wrestlers are actually guys, Jack Delter and CJ Black, the good guy, who were rated 7 stars by Mr. Dragon. And the running joke is that people tell me to watch their matches, but Mr. Dragon, when they tell him to watch their matches, they actually want it to give a rating. When people want me to watch their matches, it's almost like, can you go away now? But Mr. Dragon, it's more or less like, because when I watch the match, yeah, I'm going to talk about it away, but there's things that he knows, obviously, which is why people really, go into this rating system, and they obviously trust his judgment. Me, I watched the match. Yes, I mean, I know wrestling. I have a basic understanding of it, but I'm not a wrestler. But I obviously, I can understand the flow of things. I'm a wrestling fan. I have logic, but people really want to hear his opinions. I'll take this off the screen. We'll come back to that shortly in a second. I want to put something else on the screen. But before I do that, actually, Mr. Casket, I actually wanted to present you something because you've obviously done some things in your own right in your career. I got something for you. I made sure you wouldn't go empty. And I know you saw Mr. Hardcore get something. I know that you saw something and you were like, I don't want to make sure that, I don't give you something. So I got something for you. You're going to certainly appreciate this here because for you, you are now officially the Undertaker of backyard wrestling, my friend. That's right. I gave you something.
Well, thank you, Rev. I appreciate it. I'm
You'd like that one.
You know what? People, I'm sorry about my microphone. This phone is crazy.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate it. People wouldn't do me like that. But at one time, I was actually trying to be a more traditional, and that before I tried to become a pro wrestler, so I kind of put it together. It wasn't but, I'm not dead in that. I'm on.
No, I appreciate that. No, I definitely want to keep this up on the screen, and obviously, well, thank you for it. I'll give you the physical copy when we're off the air. Let me say hello to a couple of people first. I'm sure that can be arranged. Also, I want to say hello. Michael Blackheart will see you August 24th. Rodney Casket. Is there something that you want to elaborate there for us on?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I just had him like on our first show I did people pro wrestling, and this young guy named I think he's on 23, and he just really started not too long ago, like in Alabama. And so he wanted a match, and I was like, okay, go for another. Even though I'm an old man, this young guy, man, dude, when we got over there, it was amazing. I was surprised when he tied up with me. It was perfect. And the things he was doing there, man, it was amazing. And I was like, oh, and man, he had the fundamental around. So when we had that, I didn't think it was going to be good. I don't know the guy. I don't know him. And when we got together, that wrestling had, and we had a great match where the president of Future wanted to have a match on the 24th, and I was like, okay, you know, okay. I was like, this guy, man, and we can wait. He's amazing talent though. He's young, so he's very young.
It's a name I definitely have heard of, actually, and it's a name that I think we're going to hear a lot more of, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. And I also want to put it out there: anybody that wants to come on the platform through you guys in any form is welcome anytime to message me. I'm here. Yep, I'm here anytime. Anybody can message me. I'm at Sportswire Radio on Facebook, Tom Bryce at Facebook, Instagram, the Sports Report 2021. So Discord, I'm at Sportswire Radio. So just get in touch with me, and we'll take that off and put this on. Hardcore, hit me up after this, brother. Finishing up dinner and watching H2O. Love you, brother. We love you too, Kevin, and we love you for tuning in. Go eat that dinner. I know it's Sunday night for some people. For me, this is kind of like breakfast time, but for you, it's dinner time, I know. So definitely go and enjoy dinner. Want to say hello to one of our other people that I think we're going to be honoring next week, as a matter of fact, and that is his company, Tennessee Backyard Wrestling. He's the owner of it, Mr. Joshua Allen, and a company that's kind of picked up the mantle, I think, in a lot of ways from GWC and MCW. They're kind of, to me, I think they're the standard bearer right now in backyard wrestling. They've got almost 8,000 subscribers. Their most recent show, Rampage 163, hit just about 2,000 views. Their most recent show, also, that was their big premium event, Anniversary 7, hit close to 4,000 views. They've got a show coming up Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time. You need to check it out. We want to certainly thank him here. Also, no mention of John Forge during the MGBYW shoutouts. I can say that if I could have given more shoutouts, I'm sure that Mr. Hardcore will do that. But he was already having technical difficulties, and I already went 6 minutes on in the speech. But we can certainly bring up John Forge. What did John Forge mean?
John Forge is my brother. To be perfectly honest, John Forge did a lot for GWC Intensity, and being, of course, a stable member, he always put his best foot forward. To be perfectly honest, I believe it was Forge that the independent movie studio got in contact with about doing the movie to begin with, in which then he contacted Dees, and then he moved on to, and I was like the last one to know about that. But, plus the music video, I think he had a hand in that as well. He's in the music video with CWB. To be perfectly honest, our magic, what we had at that time, was a good chunk part of him. Him and Skrilla going and doing independent show tours. And able to take me along. He's the one in the orange shirt. And take me along to one of the shows and be their manager for basically a storyline in Southern Violence Wrestling. And it's one of those things where I sit back and he tells me all the times you miss it, and of course I do miss it, but it's a nostalgic memory and it's a happiness memory. It's looking back at all the blessings that we were able to have, just doing what we loved and having fun. We didn't even know that these people were interested. We just had got it back there, had fun, and tried to entertain the people at home. I talked to the people at home. I would address comments, and I always felt myself as kind of the comment killer against those who talked shit about anyone that had a bad match or whatnot. I tell them, come out there and show us differently. It's easy to sit behind and be a keyboard warrior. It's a difference to get out there and actually try. But as long as you continue and you get better, which all of them did, and I couldn't be any more proud than probably Copper is. If not, I'll probably be more proud.
What does this video do for you guys? This is a video that hit 500,000 views. What does this do for you and everybody?
Oh wow. Well, I think I almost want to say that came first, and maybe then the movie afterwards.
Which I have I'm going to put the photos up shortly from that. I have it.
So I would say that to me, that gave me the first inkling that other people are watching, and randomly the people are watching. The fact that I believe the lead singer and I think a couple other band members showed up to record Copperhead and Freak Show and Skrilla and um, you know, everyone who was wrestling, and they were going nuts. They were running around excited like children in a candy store, saying that in Atlanta people would pay money to see that, and it's true, they would. um, but I think to us that opened up a lot of doors, but it also, in hindsight, after now it's in the past, it also led down for eventual breakup that kind of sucks that it happened. I think a
Why
lot
did
of it.
that but why did that lead to the breakup if this video broke down so many doors for you guys? Why was that?
Yeah.
Well, it just wasn't the video. It was a mixture between the video and the movie, but at the same time, people as a group, in a way, just they were tired of losing out money and wanted to make money. They wanted to technically go independent. Um, at the time, Cali had this thing that GWC is mostly backyard and it should stay backyard. I wanted to be more of the neutral, compromising person of the two,
Kind of
where
like
it
an
was
underground, a super underground, right? 'Cause I'm seeing that a little
correct.
bit now with certain companies. IMF comes to mind where they've got guys in the backyard, they've got the license, but they're using indie guys. They're in between. They're a company, TF Crew, Gabe Sayers, the middle ground. I understand where you're coming
Right.
from. There are some guys that in the backyard that, you know, they may not be able to make that jump, and they're probably better as backyarders. But there are guys. Obviously, you had Skrilla, you had Shalance, you had obviously Fred
God
Yehai. They
boy.
broke down doors. There's no question about that. But it's a tough balance for sure. It's a tough decision.
Yes. And so it's one of those where I was more the compromisable person, where I was like, let's have events still outdoors where the ring is touching the earth, because that's what makes the magic happen. You have
Yeah.
to be connected to the earth
Mm-hmm.
for this to work correctly. And maybe 4 times a year go into a building, but you do not want to get oversaturated and then get spoiled of being a building. And
Yeah.
that,
Bring
and
this
in
up.
a way, that kind of what sort of broke things down. I was kind of out of it. Like, I wasn't really knowing what was going on because I was doing renovations downstairs in my house for the next season. And they had moved to Fort Valley to continue filming at a warehouse there. And they fell in love with the entire thing of being in a building, which I can understand. You don't have to worry about weather. You don't have to worry about
I think that's the problem too. You have weather in a lot of these places that, for 3 months of the year, you can't do nothing. There's even places that it's really like I'm in New York, like you really can't do any backyard wrestling until in some cases May. You got 5 months, maybe some
right.
places you get 8, maybe 9, but it's a judgment call. Do you have any regrets? Do you guys have any regrets in how it all ended, or it just was what it was before I bring up the photos? You want to say something, Ronnie?
To,
Go ahead.
to be
Yeah.
honest,
And I can say when my debut, I was there for the original roster, and I was asking and I said, "Hey, when the next show, I can't wait." He told me that night, um, we was on one roster at a place friend on the, and that was the first place where all the original roster was at, and we did a battle, and he told me, "That's it, brother. We going out and I was like, what you mean? He's like, we're going to independent. And I had a enjoying stuff, but I was like, I want to for yours. I feel right, right in the ring, outside. I don't mind doing it for the people inside the building. I'm a big man. So, but yeah, that's how. That's why I told you I had to wait like almost a year just to uh in the ring because I find new people, and that's when the page um on XJ, whatever name, and all these new guys are on. So yeah, but Here now.
And before I get to this picture and a few others, absolutely, if you'd like to come on the show, message me. I'm on Facebook at Tom Bryce. I'm also at Instagram, the Sports Report 2021, Discord at Sportswire Radio. So yeah, definitely message me when we're off the air, and I'd love to have you come on. Absolutely, and obviously we have the movie here. Some of the photos of it. Mr. Hardcore. I've got some of the group. Shortly, I'll put that photo up as well in a second. But meeting Jake Roberts and some guy named Mick Foley was really, in a way, I mean, probably when you think about backyard wrestling, probably the greatest, in a way, backyard wrestler because of the success he achieved. I don't know wins and losses. I don't know what that would be in terms of who would be, but obviously, I think Mick Foley is the greatest backyard wrestler of all time because of just the success that he's had in society, not just in WWE. And but what did Peanut Butter Falcon? What was that experience like for you guys? I see you here, Mr. Hardcore, with this.
Oh man, ooh, what was it? See, Callie gave you one day. He gave you a Thursday when he was on his interview, and what happened that Thursday? I was there the entire week. Me, John Forge, Lilith, and Skrilla. Skrilla really wasn't used for that day. Neither was Forge or Lilith, but where I was sitting, I got called on the fifth day. So it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I wasn't there for me in any way. I was there as GM for the guys. They wanted to rent our ring. They wanted to use some of our props until they showed up and realized that our barbed wire was real, that the light bulbs that we were talking about were fluorescent tubes and not house light bulbs, as well as other weapons that they saw, and they realized, oh, they can't use that. And so, uh,
Yes.
in a way, uh, Monday when we showed up for the first day of filming, we're supposed to bring all our outfits, all our gear, and I personally create mine. I customize mine. It might take 1 to 3 months, but I customize my own. I try to give the best I can to the people at home who are watching, um, and took them. And other people took, their gear. Those who looked too professional had to wear normal gym clothes.
Wow.
Right, and there was a good few of us. Even though I created mine, and mine looked, the ones that I wear in matches, um, they couldn't use it because it was too professional. Which, because of the reason it was handmade by me, they had replaced the T-shirt that Deez was wearing with mine, and so I got to wear the Chicken Ranch T-shirt um, in the movie, which was the best T-shirt in the entire wardrobe. So that was such a great. But he walked in, and both the directors, Mike Schwartz and Tyler Nelson, they walked in with Jake, standing behind him, and it took me a moment to realize that it was Jake Roberts. And so we went to
How
go
was
introduce
Jake's
ourselves.
state of mind? Because we know Jake's had a lot of personal issues, but how was he at
So
that?
so it was 2017, even though the movie was released in 2019. We were filming in 2017, July of 2017. Um, he had basically just kind of graduated from DDP's house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and so, where he was great. He was funny. He actually, the picture of him walking, that was me being a little rascal and taking
Yeah.
a picture we're not supposed to. And he was coming to us. He was coming to talk to Deez and Skrilla and Justin Saint of GWC and myself, um and so yeah, I'm in that picture, but I'm behind Deez in the blue. That hand,
Yeah,
that's
I
me.
see you. I see you. Like literally, there's it's
I'm,
like
I'm
one
the
side on the
little
left.
spot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's because basically I wasn't there for me. I wasn't trying to get my face out. I wasn't trying to get notoriety out, because what we were a part of was magical, was special, and I didn't even know the basis of the story, but I knew that day there was something special about it. But Skrilla was able to have Mick Foley train him a little bit and show him how to do a headlock. Uh,
Wow. Wow.
you know, Jake Jake couldn't do a lot of the stunts, so what they had written for one day they had to rewrite it, and that's the day that Callie showed up on Thursday. I told him to tell Geico to go fuck off and be part of this because it was special, but he had his reasons, and you know, I'm not going to push too much, but I believe that was an experience he really needed to be part of. Shia LaBeouf was great. He was open and communicative, and that was about 2 weeks after his little meltdown in Savannah. And we thought how fitting for that to actually be during the time that we're about to film. He has a meltdown and gets arrested for racist comments. But it was a great time. Forge was able to sit down and actually have a heart to heart with him. Um, Learned a lot, understood a lot. Got to see Yellow Wolf, got to see John Hawkes, Thomas Hayden Church,
Oh
which
my
I
God,
kind of
Thomas Hayden Church. I mean, legendary
yeah.
actor.
I'm not gonna lie, I fanboyed a little bit over him because he's one of my massive memories when it comes to sneaking into a movie. My first one I snuck into was Demon Knight
Oh
because
yeah.
I loved him because of Wings, because he played Lowell, but he was supposed to be in Demon Knight. And so I was like, oh, I've got to see this. So I snuck in and saw it, and he blew my mind because, of course, Roach is a completely different character from Lowell. And so seeing he was only 4 or 5 feet away from me, I kind of freaked out about that. But we have video. I know Callie's got it somewhere where uh, Mick pretty much went on the megaphone and told us what a good job we were doing and to continue doing what we do. Um, and overall, it was such a great experience and a great time. And the ability to tell everyone, Skrilla and Dees and the others, Tony James, that the reason why I talk or delivered is because of him and Harley Race. You don't have to yell to get your point across, and the quieter you speak, the more people will shut up to listen. And so, able to express my gratitude for learning that from him. And everyone else was asking this typical, what the Damien escaping, is that true, and all the fanboy type stories. And I'm like, oh god, don't be that embarrassing.
See, I think that
um,
stuff is we're here with, of course, the legendaries, Mr. Hardcore and Rodney Casket, the Desperado Angel. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio. So as a reminder to people, at 10 o'clock Eastern time, we are here with Osiris from ESW Shockwave. He has announced his retirement. He is giving us the first interview since he announced his retirement on Thursday. You will want to not miss that one. It'll be 10 o'clock Eastern time on all Sportswire Radio platforms. Osiris is here live from ESW Shockwave. Of course, he is their interstate champion. He's got a lot to say about ESW Shockwave. You won't want to miss this one. But, I think that, to me, I wouldn't ask Jake Roberts, oh, well, what was it like with the Randy Savage segment? Or, oh, what was it like wrestling Undertaker? Or, to me, or what was it like you did? To me, it'd be more a matter of like, well, what could I do? What would be the advice you'd give me in terms of, looking into the camera? What would be the advice you'd give in terms of just, going out there and trying to get people to believe in what you do in the ring? What would be your advice in terms of dealing with the role? Those would be the questions. And again, I know it's only a limited time you have with them. To me, to ask those questions about Undertaker and the Randy Savage segment and, the moments that you had in terms of Austin 316, I think to me they're great. Don't get me wrong, but if you're really trying to make it, I'm going with like the things that could help me in terms of if I'm going to make this a career.
Absolutely. And most of the time, they're human beings. People can't forget that. We're
Oh, I
all
learned
human
that
beings.
firsthand in the world of politics, and we see it there.
And,
Thank you for
and
putting that up.
right. And so, thank them. Thank them for their work. Thank them for what they've done. Thank them for whatever you've learned from them or the memories that they gave to you. Uh, and that was my thing. I don't care about standing and getting a picture with somebody or getting their autograph. But if it means much more to me to tell them thank you personally and
I
what they
try to do
know.
that every day on this platform. I try
Right.
to do that because I look at it again. This we should be celebrating guys. We should be thanking them. Guys like yourself who really, to me, are integral parts of the current state of backyard wrestling. Where backyard wrestling. We're talking about all these things. We're talking about people, and I want to say hello, obviously, to James Taylor, who's here, and he interviewed Mr. Dragon, and he's part and responsible to me, obviously, connecting with you guys, and also he's one of those guys he would call himself an old head. He's one of those guys that was out there in TWA. He was one of those guys out there in the Texas Heat. Despite what people may say, he is a legend because he was out there in 99 and 2000 and 98 when a lot of guys, weren't even born. James Taylor was out there raising hell like you guys were. And,
Yeah.
that's really what it's about, honoring guys that have gone out there and, you guys did it. I'm so glad, that you said those things, and obviously, I guess I should ask this question, for you, Mr. Hardcore. You can, piggyback off it, but what advice would you guys give to, upcoming yarders? What would you guys give the advice and such to them to? What would be your advice?
So I guess what I would tell them is think about being original. We
Yeah.
have our heroes, we have our icons, we have our people that we love and we watch. So let's not take from them as much because that's just this business. This business is about stealing. It's about taking your
Yeah,
move. It's
it's the
about
same in
taking your
music.
music. It's about taking your concept and your idea. That's why, as cocky as it might sound, I was Bray Wyatt before Bray Wyatt was Bray Wyatt and Bray Wyatt was cool.
Because I tried
And
to make the same problem.
so, think originality, think progression. Don't stay stagnant. Think of so many outfits. Get fashionista on the shit if you have to. I mean, do things that are out of the norm. Do things uncomfortable. A lot of the high hit matches that I had are silly shit. 26,000 for me versus Charmander. I look like a satanic Ermac and he's, well, Charmander. But 26,000. Get out of your comfort zone. Know your audience. Understand who's watching. Know what they like. And when it comes to building your subscriptions, I can just tell you, at least from listening to Copper, you're going to have to agree to subscribe to everyone you want to subscribe to you. And it's going to take years to get to the level of 8,000 or higher, that because there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of networking. And
Well,
the
I think
fact
it's
that this
amazing to me that TBW did it in 7 years, not even 7 years. TBW is about to hit 8,000 subscribers. We're putting them in the Hall of Fame next week. And really what they did, I mean, ESW Shockwave's been around really when you guys were in the heyday. And okay, they're there, but they've been around for so long. And, it's very hard for companies to get to that, over, with watching the match, your 26,000 views, but, 5,000, and I'll put your match up in a few minutes, but, 5,000 views. I mean, 5,000 subscribers, I don't really know of any other company that has that number except for TBW and ESW Shockwave. Other than you guys broke 8,000. You guys hit 8,000. You guys have been around, but TBW is that one company, whether you love them or hate them, that and I think a lot more people love them, obviously, than not, that they were able to break that ceiling. They're the one, that did it. And it's very hard. I know a lot of companies look at it and go, I'm supposed to get like 1,000 subscribers in a month. And it doesn't work that way. It's, really, it takes time. Listen, XCW, I'm not trying to pile on XCW at all. I've said things about them as a company, but this is actually no knock on them. They've been around maybe just as long as you guys. They started in 2003, and yet they're only at like, not only, but they're at 1,600 subscribers, give or take. It's everybody's different. I mean, then conversely, the IMF boys are around 2 years and are up at 2,000 subscribers. You really need certain things to go, I think, into your favor. You guys have done it, and we're watching some of the match here, 26,000 views. I'm going to put your match up, Rodney, right after. We'll check it out for a few minutes. But Mr. Hardcore, did you know at the time this match was going to hit 26,000 views?
So me and Wes, Charmander, no, we didn't. This was just a squasher, comedic type filler. So we just had fun with it. Uh, it was just a squash match basically. It was only close to 6.5 minutes, and so when we realized and saw the final amount, we both just kind of looked at each other and went, "What the fuck?" Because I mean, how can you? I mean, you see something like that, how can you say, "But what the fuck"? That's not what you expect. You expect three, four, 500 views at most.
Yeah,
Not
the
that.
average, is the going rate is probably, like you said, 500 to 1,000 on a high end. Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're kind of thinking. But that also kind of showed me just kind of who around the world was watching us also. And the comments that are in different languages shows you right then and there the just the amount of people that were watching and where they were at. But at the same time, Callie had a Japan version of GWC Intensity on YouTube, and he had other versions as well. So he was constantly getting the word out and constantly getting videos out. That man was so overworked. Um,
I actually kind of know his feeling because I'm literally like on the air every day, in some cases multiple times. So I actually can sympathize with him on that. I've been doing this for 5.5 years, and pretty much throughout the 5.5 years, I have pretty much been on almost either every week. And this year, literally this calendar year, I think I've been on the air so far like every day except like 4 days. So I understand completely.
you know,
It's
so he got a lot of work to get the subscribers, but
But that's what it
basically,
is. Listen, I mean, but he got it there. He got you guys to that level, that rarefied it. 8,000 again. Very few companies. ESW, TBW is about to hit there. You guys are there. Maybe
it's hard
you
work.
know, it's the one or two companies are there, and it shows. But again, 26,000 views for this match. I have your match up shortly, and again, I mean, it just shows what the power of just certain things and luck and it's a match that people still watch to this day and talk about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's fun. It was a fun match. It was funny. Yeah, but that was also my gimmick. My gimmick was a person who didn't give a shit about your rules or your
Well, we
legacy.
saw that when you were general manager. We saw that, with the stable was brought up. We saw that, even now, and we see all of it in the matches about to end. I'm going to put your match up here, and again, we are here with Mr. Hardcore and Rodney Casket, the Desperado Angel. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryson. We see it looks like some mist was
Yes.
spit out there, and we're about to go
Water.
toward the end of the match shortly, and that's where it's about to go. And obviously, you got the victory. Congratulations, and but I think the viewership was more of the congratulations, and we're going to put this next up on the screen, and I have it here. Let me also, before I do that, remind people at 10 o'clock Eastern time from ESW Shockwave Osiris, who just announced his retirement, will be here live, and that it was Asian Mist. I thought it was Asian Mist and Char. Yep, and I see Kevin's got the Char with the dot dot dot. You kind of said that in slow mo, and we see there it is, and poor Charmander there. But obviously, you weren't saying poor Charmander. But let me take this off the screen because I want to put your matchup, Rodney. Hopefully, you'll give me some good insight on it that the audience can hear. And I'm about to put it up right now on the screen, and it should be up right now. There we go, and there we have it. And your match also again. A lot of people tuned into this match, and Rodney, talk to me about, what you're seeing here and we're about to see.
Oh, well, okay, sorry, everybody. I had real mind and then my pants got falling.
Now, this guy we happen to know very well. I mean, he used to be Trey, but his name is Xavier now. So I was kind of thought it was funny to put this match up.
Yeah, yeah, but this man, this actually the second match, the first match where he actually brought the North American Championship to me, and he was just like, man, I respect you, and I seen you in the battle royal, find it, wrong, put you in the wrong, and he was basically, he said, man, if you ever want, no, not me, and he said, and then we'll play like it was a week later, and we'll have a second match. We just take it back to it. And man, I couldn't feel the beginning, man. I couldn't feel my left leg a little bit. I tried to do the best I could, so I could man, and like I said, he's a wild card.
Oh,
Green.
I know he's a wild card. I'm sure you're both aware. I've had him on a bunch of times. He's definitely a wild card, and I know you've wrestled him in other places in his company, quote unquote, as well. And there we see you here, and that's why I called you the Undertaker of backyard wrestling, because you look like an Undertaker. You know, I live across the street from a cemetery, so I see quite a few Undertakers each and every day. You know, right by my house. So maybe you'll be my Undertaker. Maybe you'll be the one that puts me in the ground.
I want you to.
But we see that's why Mr. Thorne obviously, which he does in most matches in his career, obviously runs away because he knows what's about to be in store. But there is good old Thorne, and obviously, I'm sure that he's very happy that we're seeing this. But we'll certainly, I'm sure, come back to more of the match. We got a plug here, so if you want to buy. I guess you can still buy GWC merchandise, but then we see Mr.
Copper would know that. Copper would know that more.
Yeah, I know that, and I don't know if you guys have it, but there, Mr. Thorne is showing some offense in, and you obviously getting right back up here, Rodney, and I don't blame you. Obviously,
yeah, he wanted to start the match with the chair. I'm like, okay.
He's on with a suplex. I mean, this is not the Thorne I'm used to seeing.
He did throw that. I heard the man really. It was easy. I'm used to doing it in the draft when I was younger, so I believe he was going to. He did it on the wrong side. He did it on the right side. You do it on the left side, then pick up with the right. Even if you're left, you didn't know that.
And those Thorne punches on boy Thorne is really laying it in onto you, but it doesn't seem like it's working so far.
It was real tight. He was really laying it on me, but I took I mean, I let him get his moments needed out there. Enough is enough.
And boy, did that elbow look like it hurt. That really did. But Mr. Thorne used it. He knew where the ropes were, and that's obviously kept him in the match for a little while longer. And we see you here getting right back on him. Obviously, smart veteran move to work your opponent back after he's down. And Thorne does try to come back up here and spur a little bit of a comeback. And obviously, you can see you guys trading some punches back and forth. But I don't think he's going to win a punching contest with you, considering your size and your ability. But we'll see at last what Mr. Thorne can do. I watched a little bit of the match before we came on the air, and we see you here really laying it into him. How about that DDT there? And Mr. Thorne looks like he might want to obviously take a little bit of a nap there after that.
And, put him in the sleep to calm him down, because he was just everywhere. I
think Thorne just looked at you just now and was like, huh? Because I think he really realizes what he's about to be in for. But he does kick out here somehow. And I'm not quite sure if the red attire is helping him stay in this match, or maybe just his youthful inexperience, because the experience move would be to just stay down and not, obviously try to counter anymore because of your size. But he's trying. He's definitely, putting in some offense. And obviously, I'm sure his locker room and Resurrection Pro Wrestling will certainly take note in this, but he is giving you some kicks. Doesn't seem like they're working. It seems like you're actually getting stronger here. You're getting right back up.
Because my legs are moving out, so I'm trying to use the rope to get up, so he his finisher and take me home. But I'm really like I always
kind of a little bit of an awkward type of drop kick he tries there. It does sort of connect, and he's trying for a pin, but the referee seems to be, I suppose, distracted. And you did the same thing. I think you did the same thing, Tim. Your hand was on the rope. I think it did look like it looks like he's as angry as when he's been on Sportswire right now. But the only difference is that he's not to be beat up in Sportswire, because you're about to do something pretty dastardly to Mr. Thorne, and Mr. Thorne kind of pretty much knows it. I thought that was a simple boy. He lifts you up and.
He dropped you.
It didn't seem like it worked. Nothing seems to be working. That's why you are an Undertaker. And let's see now, finally, if it works. 1, 2. Unfortunately, you lost the match.
Yeah, I lost it, man. He got it, man. It was actually a scene when he dropped me on my neck a little bit. I was fine.
And Xavier, a young Xavier Thorne, pre-mustache. It's, pre the standout, the psychopath. It's Trey Thorne, just Trey, and
That's him, brother. I'm glad you put that up. I appreciate it, man.
I do. I wish I could put more matches up, but we'll have more matches to put up in the future with, because this is only the beginning of more appearances with you on here. And let me take this off the screen and come back. And let me see here. How long have you been wrestling, Rodney?
Oh, over 20 years now. I thought it was 25. I got into watching wrestling in '94, man. It was always in my family, but I didn't used to, look at wrestling. I was just like play with my cars and and one day I was playing a video game, and then I got into it. So when I moved from where I used to stay, I met a guy named Willie, and he loved wrestling too. Wrestling, he was like, wrestle. He said, just start hitting and doing on TV, and I was like, okay. But yeah, I've been wrestling, man, and I guess I retired in 2005 because everybody knows me, and I always wanted to keep wrestling, but I just come back to GWC at the time with the GWC, and I finally made it in 2018. I've been doing it. I've been on the side up a little bit until the future pro wrestling. I just wanted to
Which you were putting up, actually, when we started the show, we put the plug for that, and I also want to put it out there that any future coverage coming up with future Atlanta Pro Wrestling, please let us know anything we can do to help future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. They're on Instagram as well. They're on YouTube. We definitely want to support future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. Obviously, I know you guys are involved in it. I have a guy that wants to say hello for 2 minutes. I'm only giving him 2 minutes because I still want to ask you guys a couple more questions before we get off the air. And this guy is always here. He wants some quick advice. It's not Xavier Thorne. I'm timing him because usually when he's here on Sportswire, he's usually here for an hour, 2 hours. I don't have 2 hours because I've got to get ready for Osiris in a little while, but I'm going to give him 2 minutes, and I'm going to give him the 2-minute clock just like in football here. You get 2 minutes, you get the 2-minute warning. So I'm going to let this guy come on. I'm going to let him ask a question. You're going to get advice. You guys are going to give him advice. I'm sure maybe you guys can connect. Maybe a future star from future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. Maybe you want to sign somebody right now. He's traveled also. He's also been in the independents, and maybe this is his stop, maybe his next stop, because I'm sure in other places, after some things he says, maybe they want him, maybe they don't want him. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give him 2 minutes. He's got 2 minutes. He is a part of Resurrection Pro Wrestling. His name is Anthony Steele. Anthony, he's a 2 legends, so we're putting you on the clock. We got a 2-minute warning. What would you like to ask the legendaries, Mr. Hardcore and the Desperado Angel himself, Mr. Rodney Cassidy?
First question is for Mr. Hardcore. How do I get in contact? I kind of want to go to Atlanta anyway, so
I'll take care of you on that. I got you covered on that one. That one you covered on that. I'll take care of you.
Yeah, actually, I was kind of hoping you would come down. Watching, like I said, watching Xavier down here in this episode, I've really watched basically every. I know opening the door to allow a lot of people to travel and to show up and to show their talent and to I am all about that. I know that Jermaine Hardwick is the one who hired. It's people. We just got CJ Ursary and we got Jay Shaw. There'll be a 3-way dance with Jay Shaw and CJ Ursary and Cliff Welcome. Hopefully the 24th of August. We currently are in Forest Park, Georgia. It's basically a subdivision of Atlanta. The location could change. I have to speak with Mr. Hardwick about that. He has a possible another yard to be going to. So yeah, I know Tom will be more than happy to get you all my information.
I'll take care of that.
Would you mind if I bring a buddy of mine?
All are welcome.
I mean, because I get to feel his energy, so I think y'all deserve to get to
Ah,
feel his
now,
energy.
is that who I think that is? Is
Would
that
you mind
is
if
that
I bring D'Angelo LaFlame?
not Xavier Thorne?
Would absolutely love for you to bring Mr. LaFlame.
I can work something out. Now the biggest question is for Mr. Rod.
All right.
So how was it with you working with Thorne? Because dude, me working with Thorne, whoo, dude.
Oh no, dude. Oh, I think, brother, especially the brand, like when he went on court, man. It wasn't anything real, but I mean, he literally beat my hands. He fought pounding me. I was trying to shake his hand. He hit me with the belt. It was just like we didn't talk about it, but he's a wild guy, and then he got a little better. I was saying, man,
Oh
but
yeah.
I guess you wrestling was a little better. But with me, man, he was kicking, and it was stiff. I ain't gonna lie, it was stiff.
Hey, I'm trying my hardest to work with him. I guess for some odd reason he actually listens to me, but he wouldn't listen to anybody else.
No, he won't. He
Um,
won't. Not a diss him like that. He cool, but
I
he did not listen.
I think it was more along the lines of I looked at him. I was like, look, I'm not here to waste my time. I'm not here to waste your time. If
Yeah,
you want to get trained, if you want to get help, if you want to get to a spot where you feel comfortable with your own
yeah.
ability, I will help you get to that place. But don't waste my time because at that point, I'll wipe my hands with you and I'll just walk away.
I feel you, bro. I was trying to do the same thing. I was like, I'm helping you and training you a lot better. And these guys are seeing you like they don't see this as it's all about me. You beat them. I always say this: you only good when you make your opponent look good. That's what it's about. Tell each other. And that's what I'm about, brother. Taking care of my opponent, making it good. Don't let me good. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm just letting her go over. I'm at all, man. I can go wrestling, and I just thought he was feeling that way, and I could grow, but I guess some people can't
I mean, I love Thorne. I had to give him a new finisher because he was making mine look like shit.
take
And I was not trying to have that. But
Yeah,
I did give him basically the way I'm working with him is, I take, his body size,
mm,
as a big advantage for him.
yeah.
So like I gave him a move
And
You
that
got
also,
fits
if it
to
helps,
him.
Rodney, move the position of your phone. The phone that might help the audio. That's what Kevin would like to say.
Yeah, because like I could hear every other word, but I
Like,
could put it together. But
Oh, here we go.
yeah, so I mean, Thorne's getting better day by day. I'm working with him so much,
Oh,
and you know, he's willing to take a chop now, which is a lot better than what I thought he would be.
And
Um,
that's a
shout out
long
to
way.
that
Hard
guy.
time to bump.
oh, dude. Oh, I've literally I grinded him to take bumps. Like literally, I
You
made him take
did?
bumps until he can consistently take like 5 bumps back to back to back perfectly.
Wow. So he didn't know that. It's a hard one. I mean,
and
but like,
I
Right.
have a question, Anthony, for Kevin. You're not in Macon. You're in what? Where are you these days? Mississippi or Tennessee?
I'm in Horn Lake, Mississippi.
Now, where is Horn Lake, Mississippi, for the audience? Because I'm in New
It's
York.
about
I couldn't
it's
find it.
about 10 minutes outside of Memphis.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So literally, I drive a half an hour into Memphis to go to work. So,
How far are you from these guys in future Atlanta Pro Wrestling? Then, how far would that be for you?
um, so me and D'Angelo live about 5 minutes apart, and he said the drive to Atlanta from here was about 4 or 5 hours.
All right, that's. I mean,
So
it's
it's not
it's
bad.
not the worst. I mean, it could
Nah.
be better, but 4 hours is,
Um,
you know.
yeah,
it's working.
I know. I know. Me and some of the Resi boys, the Resi crew,
Mhm.
are supposed to take a trip out to Atlanta anyway, just for a little vacay. So I will say, if when and whenever we do go out there, if y'all are doing anything, might stop by, check it out.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right.
So
Please do.
Bro.
I'm all about I'm all about merging with other companies. Like I love working with other companies.
Me too,
And
man.
there's
I love to
like,
do that.
hey, Rodney, if you ever want to come to Resurrection Pro Wrestling,
Oh,
hit,
oh,
hit us up, man.
I can connect you, Anthony. I will connect you to Mr.
okay.
Casket and Mr. Hardcore personally. I will connect you to both men
I bet.
when we're off the air.
Well, I know my 2 minutes has been up, so
I
thank
actually
y'all for
gave you
letting
a
me on.
bonus. I gave you a bonus because I'm a gentleman. You know, when people be like, "All right, Anthony, you got to go," but I
All
was
right,
like,
bro.
"I can choose a gentleman."
But thank y'all for having me. Can't wait to get in contact with y'all, and
I'll
let's
take care
talk
of
some
that off
business.
the air. Yep. That
Bet,
was
brother.
Anthony Steele, who literally was in business. And let me say hello to Mr. Snow himself. 4 hours isn't bad at all. He used to do 6 to 8 hours for upstate WZW. Yep, WZW. I was wondering, Jackson Snow, are you in Pennsylvania these days? That's a good question. I would actually like to know. But yeah, 4 hours. I mean, to me, it sounds like the end of the world. But for most of
Yeah.
these guys, traveling compared to a 6 hour drive to a 4 hour drive is nothing. That's actually a good question. Maybe if you guys ever run into it, Jackson Snow, he's been around a while around the block. You ever run into a Jackson Snow by any chance? No?
Well, I haven't really been in the loop for like 3 years or so.
Fair enough. Duly noted. Okay. I figured I'd at least do that here. And Central Pennsylvania. Yeah, I figured that. I was curious where, because again, I know people are all over the place. You wrestle in a Fed, but you're in a different place because it's just the travel, the destination, whatever it is. Yeah, not. I knew where the gimmick was, but I meant where you really live. Because I mean, you could be in Tennessee, but he's in the other side of the country. So it'd be hard to get their show every week. He's in Dominant Breakout Wrestling. They have 3,700 plus subscribers. So they're getting to the 8,000. They'll get to the 8,000. They've got
Huh.
the halfway there. But to go from Tennessee to, they're in Maryland every week, that would be very hard to do. But I'm glad that he's doing well. Very successful wrestler. And I wanted to ask you guys this question. I ask it the same to everybody, though. Mr. Hardcore, what is your goals for the rest of the year? What are your goals?
Ooh, well, one to help build up FAPW.
Okay.
Uh,
Sounds good to
kind
me.
of get
Mhm.
them, get them shining where they need to be. Um, push the roster, uh, motivate, but at the same time make them very much understood. My rules are my rules, and this goes to anyone who shows up, anyone who wants to visit, anyone who wants to participate in any way. You could be the ruler of your yard, you can be a hardcore king, but I am God Emperor at FAPW.
Wait a minute. Whoa. You just said two things that I
Yeah,
think I hear. You said ruler of the yard and hardcore king. Are you
well,
referring to individuals specifically named Craven Rage and the Atomic Titan? Is that what you just mentioned right there without even mentioning their names?
bingo. You see,
Mm.
anyone who has that type of attitude, thinking they're going to come into my backyard and they're going to disrupt the rules that are set forth already, and that's what I'm here to do, and making sure those rules stay set forth. Then
Wow.
I will knock your dick so far down in the dirt, the tip of your dick will be tickling my fucking house. I'm going to play. I am not that GM that you come in and you think you're stone cold to. That don't work in my neighborhood. That ain't gonna happen at all. I will treat you with respect, and you will treat me with the respect.
So you're
And one,
saying to me then the likes of Craven Rage and Atomic Titan should think about other destinations other than future
no,
Atlanta Pro Wrestling?
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome to show up and to participate and be part of. And if you love it, you can call it home. But once you do, and you walk up either the driveway or you walk through those doors, I am the God Emperor there. My
Mm.
rules stay.
I'm certainly not going to mess with that. And what happened between Justin Parsley and Soldier GP? They wrestled yesterday, and we won't know until the match is released on their YouTube channel of the IMF. So that would be my answer to that. For you, Mr. Casket, it sounds to me like Mr. Steele gave you some sort of, I guess, opening to Resurrection Wrestling. But do you have any goals right now? Anything you want to share for the audience? Any goals you have?
But my goal is to come on here a few times. I can do my goal. But help the APW help start help young guys that coming in that want to y'all and put a smile on them, man. That's what I want to do.
Okay, well, I definitely agree with you, on that for sure. We want to put people's smiles on their faces. And we put smiles on your faces tonight because we have some of these things to present on the stage as well. So you can check
Yeah,
those
you
out.
gotta
I will send that to you when we're off the air. I promise you.
okay,
All that, for sure. We'll do that here. Let, let,
please.
let me ask you. I've only got so much time, and you guys have been so patient as well. And I know
Oh,
people still want to talk to you. But I want to ask you this question, Mr. Hardcore. And, why did Shalonce Royal stand out? Why did Skrilla stand out? And why did Fred Yehai in particular? Why did those three become three of the just, premier pupils that you had in GWC?
So to be perfectly honest, I go with Copper, the drive, the will, the want, um, the opportunities, whatever opened in their pathway, they jump and they took. But they also just love doing it. I mean, you're talking about Skrilla who travel on indies, but at the same time show back up in the yard and continue doing BS because he didn't really need to do, and he knows it. Uh, the fact that, in a way, Fred Yehai was one who, shoot, I mean, he was special since BACW when he was wearing his, wrestling headgear. Uh, um, he had it then, he had the drive, and he still does to this day. They call him the Savage Weight for a reason. I'd like to think the torturous hell that I put that man through for years on behest of T3 and Shock Mafia, that, some of that flowed into what he's doing now and the ferocity and the just savageness that he goes into every match. He's faced AR Fox and just the ones on top of that, on the ones you mentioned. This man has gone and done so much. Skrilla just loved the fact of everything, learning constantly, soaking it up, constantly learning and doing no matter what. Like I said, he was nice enough to bring me along on a show or so. Um, had There's just something about a drive, but I don't interrupt it and I don't stop it. That means that their drive is going to keep them or take them away from what what they do, or what at least what we do. They're going to take them away from us, and that's okay. I want them to go to the next level. They deserve to go to the next level. Uh, and I'm proud of him no matter what he does. He still claims DS24. He'll always be stable. And just like Forge, that's Forge and Skrilla.
I see
Team.
it right there, and I think that That's why I had a feeling it was Mr. Forge, and that's why I wanted to make Mr. Forge's day. And I'm sure Mr. Forge would like to come onto the platform in the next couple of weeks, and I'm pretty sure that I would like to speak with him. And he basically, I knew something was up. I was kind of saving the best for last. That's what we do on this platform. And we see Skrilla, we see Mr. Forge, and two men that obviously have shared battle nearly to death, and they're just as if nothing happened. This the beauty of, that's what I think the beauty of wrestling is, right? Like other sports, again, what do I know? But you play basketball, you play football, and everybody's like hates each other before and after the game, right? Or during the game, it's a whole nother level. But wrestling, it's like you have a match, you have this duel, and then like right afterwards, you see this or before, right after this. It just, to me, it's just so fascinating about wrestling that I think it's like no other sport that you could have this moment right before you're about to literally kill each other.
Right, right. And that's that where they uh, were born, MGBYW. I have a phrase that I said way back then, and I give this phrase to all the death matchers out there and the extreme hardcore people.
Oh, we have a lot of them on this platform. I'm sure you've seen them. Mac 10 is Brian White's been here. Jimmy Controversy's here every other month. Mikey Anarchy, Gabe Sayers, Obey. It's hardcore. Not to steal your name, he's just hardcore because he knew that you had Mr. Hardcore. So he wanted to make sure he didn't steal your name. Atomic Titan, by the way, hardcore king. I mean, although I don't know if you think of him much as a hardcore king, but the point is there's a lot of hardcore wrestlers that do come on this platform. Kato's been here. I mean, it's a whole list of usuals.
So what I like to say is, blood is what makes the grass grow. So it's time to water the yard.
Well, that's why I'm not a hardcore wrestler. But the good news is that obviously you can watch guys like John Forge on GWC Intensity and their history. GWC Intensity has over 8,000 plus subscribers. I also add some other guys that are pretty hardcore, like Jake Dvorak is hardcore. He's always here. He's here Thursday. Ox McCoy, another guy who literally lives in blood. But these guys were just, it's almost like it was nothing. And I figured I'd put this photo up and you know, obviously you want to say something, Ronnie? Go ahead, jump in.
Oh no, I want to say, take it from me. Need some hit me up.
Well, I hope next time, Rodney, you get a little bit better audio, just because the little audio. I hear you, but I don't hear you in some way. So hopefully, the next appearance, which will be very soon, I want you guys here anytime. By the way, I want to offer it anytime to you guys. Whenever you guys want to jump in, you want to call out Xavier Thorne, you want to talk to Anthony Steele, return the favor to him or anybody else. You guys are always welcome. Before I get to closing thoughts, let me ask you guys these two last questions. I'll go with you, Mr. Hardcore. If there were one or two moments in your career that stand out most, what would they be?
Oh, I would have to say the memories. And I know that seems very vague, but it's not, because in a way, when you talk about the movie and the music video, plus a couple of interviews that never got published and never got anything with, and all the moments in time of meeting certain superstars like P.S. Michael Hayes and Virgil and
God rest his soul, by the way, Virgil.
I like the
meeting them and just speaking with them for a little bit, whether it's just an elevator ride or you know, talking for the longest time and not getting an autograph or a photograph, or you know, going with Kelly and a friend of ours to Tampa, and in the picture of him with Jimmy Hart, I was there for
Who
that.
doesn't age, by the way. Jimmy Hart looks the same as like 40 years ago. Like, what does he have that everybody else doesn't? I want to know.
I don't know. But you know, I was there, and they were like, "Why don't you get a picture?" I'm like, "No, I'll get his burger, but that's about it." He's there working. I'm not there to disturb him on this. He's a human being. He's doing other things. But the fact that he said hello when walking into me, that's going to be a memory that lasts forever until either dementia or Alzheimer's takes it away. But for the most part, it'll always be there. And it's just been the ride as when I was talent. I had a different gimmick than most. I wasn't trying to go for the belts. I wasn't trying to become the champion. I was trying to destroy anything and everything you loved, and it didn't matter what it was. I and so, you know, to come at with a whole different perspective and a different angle, where the championship title runs are not a big thing, nor are they important to me, gave almost a freshness. But at the same time, when I got into wrestling, I didn't strive to become a superstar you see on TV all the time. They don't last long. They have lots of injuries. However, who else could I be? Well, I could be the best mouths. I could be the Paul Heymans, the Jimmy Harts, the Sensational
Bobby
Shit,
Heenan's, yep.
the Bobby Heenans. Now, what did they all have in common before they became a manager? They were all wrestlers.
Yep.
So I had to do a little bit of both to be able to solidify where I want to truly be if I decide I want to go, or wish that someone out there looked at just the manager position.
He was another one that made the transition. Went to manager. Obviously, he was a wrestler, and you know he was able to prolong his career for a little while longer. And I think what you're trying to tell the audience is that there's so many other things you can do in wrestling. Your career doesn't have to. And I mean, sure, Flair keeps going and going, but I mean, that's a different. I'm not even going there with that. But the point is that you can have roles that aren't just about wrestling. You can be a commentator. You can be a manager. You can be somebody that helps in terms of maybe setting up the ring, or helping out in terms of maybe being an analyst, or maybe being some type of somebody who helps as an agent, or maybe somebody that helps in terms of the organizations of a company and promotion, sales, whatever it might be. I mean, it's like anything else. It's like if you're an athlete, your career doesn't have to end after your career. Because think about it, if you're a wrestler, what the prime of your career is over at what, 45, maybe, if you're lucky. Like if you're 45, I mean, look, WWE guys, it seems like 45. I think 45, anything after 45, it's kind of gravy. But I mean, I think like in sports in general, guys' careers end at what, 35? You count the years, whether you play basketball, football, baseball, it's 35, right? 30, they say in life, 30 is your prime. Anything after 30, you lose a certain percentage. 45, I think in wrestling is kind of like that 35 number to me. But that means you've got a lot of your life to live. You can be in wrestling for 20, 30 plus years afterwards, and, really give a lot to, I think, to people. And, and I think John wants to say, yeah, Heyman didn't work. He literally, I mean, he was a photographer at like 15 years old or something like that. He was going to the ring in Madison Square Garden. He was going to like all those shows, because back in those days they would run, MSG shows like every other weekend. It's different now, because it's all over the world, but they would run those shows like in the territory days every, couple of weeks. And he was there. Mick Foley got his start out also going to the Garden. Tommy Dreamer, another guy. So yeah, you just, you never know. And, obviously that was that. For you, Rodney, one or two moments that stand out most in the career?
Well, I guess WCW still there with the SCW because leases open, right? We so just being here, man. That's my highlight.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's very, very kind of you. Okay, so let me ask you guys this last question. I hope that you guys definitely come back. And by the way, Mr. Allen appreciated your shot, Mr. Hardcore, at the Atomic Titan, calling him the Hardcore King and kind of taking that little fun shot at him. He appreciated that very much. I just wanted to, let you know there on that. I'm sure thank him later on for that. No, I'm only kidding. But Mr. Hardcore, what do you want to say to anybody that heard this show tonight, got a chance to hear a little bit of your story? I think we didn't even touch the surface on it, but I mean, in terms of what would you want to say to anybody here tonight that heard this story and, maybe is now going to go on to this journey with you or revisit this journey with you? What would you want to say to those people?
Those who are interested in wrestling with FAPW, meeting me, meeting the others, get in contact with the future Jermaine Hardwick. He is on Facebook. As well as probably can reach him through the other means of FAPW. And, just come on down. We'd love to have you. Like I said, we're all family. We're just separated in different feds. So we're all like cousins.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So in a way, who knows what the pathway will lead? Who knows what good things will happen? Hopefully there'll be a time in which maybe we get to a point where once a year in a different location, we have a massive event and we all get together and call it a family reunion.
Like you said, like Summer Bash, but maybe different slightly, more or less.
Correct. Enough to get wherever we decide to do it, to get the town's attention. Because it's now time to actually try to get the attention on us. And if that means, using the media to our advantage, then so be it. Let's do that.
Well, I just want to say TBW kind of did that with their Anniversary 7 show. They actually got mentioned in the local Tennessee newspaper, that they actually got a big write-up, and they actually talked about the company. Obviously, Joshua Allen is the owner of their company, and they actually got that kind of earned media that's very rare in the backyard and underground wrestling world. They were able to get something that is in physical print form. And I think that went a long way in showing that, they're a backyard wrestling company, and they were able to get that kind of respect and attention that I don't think we get often. Yes, people come onto Sportswire, and I appreciate everybody that comes on here, but they got their local town's media, and I agree with you on that. That's something that, I think certain feds, whether DBWs in Maryland, they have a following, or the IMF has a following in Iowa. Maybe they can get their local newspapers, or DBW's local newspapers in Maryland. Or, for example, we have NEW in Massachusetts. They have 2,000 subscribers. Maybe they can get their local media news outlets in Worcester, Massachusetts, or whether it's TF Crew in Connecticut, it's Watertown, Connecticut. It doesn't matter where you might be. WC is in Wisconsin, ROEW is in Michigan. And I think that's a good point, that earned media would really be something that we can use, whether we do an event like Summer Bash again, or an event like somewhere else. And maybe it's in that way the local news can see it. Maybe people can be invited. I don't know. That's a question that these different companies could certainly have to figure. I would use my certainly position in any way to help to contact those outlets if that's something that people would want. And, I'd be certainly more than happy to help any company that, if they thought it was something they wanted to explore. Obviously, TBW was able to do it. And I would implore any company that would like to ask me for any type of help in that. I would definitely do that. Yeah, Worcester, Massachusetts is a great wrestling town. A lot of heritage there. And, they have an event there, NEW, the Riot in the Ring, that like 15 companies are a part of. And it's D'Angelo the Flame's a part of it. A lot of guys, Doc Holliday, GTS, a lot of those guys there in it. Grimm's Toy Show. Obviously, everybody knows Grimm's Toy Show. And they were able to pull that. WZW was mentioned. I think Jackson Snow mentioned them. WZW is a part of it. Home Wrestling, Alliance Wrestling League, Resurrection Wrestling. It's just a long list of companies. RWA, and I think that's a great thing. Rodney, what would you want to say to anybody that's watching this and hearing you for the first time, and what would you like to say to them?
Yeah, I get into this work, so you thinking about it, come on, and we'll enjoy your time, have fun, and let's just keep it going. I mean, I'm here, and I might not ask you about things to be part of in backstage, even constantly. So I just say to all the guys, man, if you're doing it. If you ain't doing it, you missing on
Amen to that. No, listen, definitely all wrestling matters. And I'm all about those things. And, and I just want to say before we get to closing thoughts, how much I can't thank you guys enough for, reaching out and, watching the shows and talking about these things. And I want you guys anytime you want. It doesn't even matter if I'm on the air. You want an invite, I invite you, because you guys have meant so much to this sport. And obviously Mr. Dragon, what he means to this platform. You guys really are, founding fathers of it. You guys truly, what you guys did with GWC, Intensity, MCWA, and, you guys are doing now with Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. I want to reiterate that. Anything I can do to promote the show coming up in August, anybody that you want that wants to come on this platform, don't even hesitate. I'm more than happy to it. Certainly, Mr. Forge, I'll definitely get him on this platform also as well next month. I definitely want to make that happen. And anybody else that we can talk with, I'm all open for it. And I want to thank everybody for tuning into this. And I want to give closing thoughts. Rodney, I'm going with you first. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
God bless you for having me. That's all I can. Thank you.
Oh, God bless you too. Thank you. Ironically, an Undertaker telling me God bless. That's kind of the irony.
Yeah, don't
so good. Zilla, who's on tomorrow night? Actually, tonight at 10 o'clock will be Osiris from ESW Shockwave. So that'll be on in about 90 or so minutes. So that'll be the next guest. Mr. Hardcore, I can't thank you enough for all that you've done for us. I want to give you the floor. If you have any closing thoughts, anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and I pass the baton to you.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who works, who hustles, who does your thing out in the ring or just in front of the camera or behind closed doors in an official position. Thank you. I love you. I hope to meet you. I hope to see you. I hope to work with you. I hope we can think of some great storylines, some things that will do some history making moments. Maybe get some old people to come back because they see exactly where everything is going. So, other than that, just be careful, take care of yourself, safety first. We can't have a show if people are hurt and dead.
No, thank you for saying that, because unfortunately,
So
there are wrestlers out there that we've been trying to talk to, and hopefully they get it right. But yes, safety is
for
very, very, very
the,
important.
for the extreme hardcore to the death match to just the hardcore, here's here's something I want you to practice: controlled chaos. If you're going to be chaotic like me, then you need to control the chaos. Just because you're in a Fed that every match is extreme hardcore to death match does not mean you have to do the exact same stuff that the person before you did. Sometimes a chair shot, sometimes a table spot, and just a few of those will do just fine. Ray said it in a shoot interview: control your chaos. But if
Hey,
you're
we
going
just
to
had Brian White on, and what he did in that match. I'm sure you remember that match years ago, and he talked about he was like in legit pain, and it was like you know.
control your chaos, but
Yeah,
just make you're going to tell a story and you do it within the
yeah,
confines of what you got. Just
Absolutely.
control the chaos. You do not have to kill your bodies. Trust me, you might get a rush, you might get a jolt, but in 10 years, you're going to wish you didn't.
Well, how
You're going
about the Mick Foley story? He basically said he was worried about he couldn't hold his kids and he couldn't,
to
remember things. And, I mean, it's
walk on set was sad. I'm not going to lie. He might have been my hero, and he might be the godfather of deathmatch and of backyard. But when you watch him walk naturally, and the way he walks is the same way he walks down the ramp on a Raw, it hurts your heart because you know that he gave everything he had for us. So we should give back to him, but we should never end up in his same position. He wouldn't want that from us.
no, no. He's a young
So
man still. He's a young man. He's not even 60 years old. And this man, unfortunately moves like, unfortunately, he's about 90 years old. And,
yeah.
it's very sad. It's very sad,
You know, he played WWE No Mercy. They actually started walking. I remember off Nintendo 64,
Yep.
WWF.
Of course, from the game. Yep, sure.
Yeah, he actually walked like that. Like they got him walking like he
Well, it's sad that he was only 30 something years old at that time. And, it's even worse now. And yes, obviously, safety first, please. Do what, obviously listen to those who know what they're doing. Listen to your trainers, listen to your coaches, listen to whoever it might be that can help you. Certainly, obviously, just be safe. It's not worth going through the table if you don't know how to go through it. It's not worth dealing with the barbed wire if they you don't know how to do it or your opponent does it. We don't want to certainly talk about you and on the news for the wrong reason. We want those earned engagements for the right reason, promoting an event, promoting a show, whatever it might be. And these guys know, and they're going to be here many more times on this platform. So we're only going to say, you know what? And I think the next time you guys are going to be here, I think the next time is I'm going to put you guys into this little thing called the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. How does that sound?
Oh,
well,
really?
Yeah. How's that sound? Next month. We'll make a date out of it next month. And maybe if we're lucky, maybe we'll get to see some of your colleagues here from GWC if they would like to come on and, share some memories. And, I think that would be an appropriate thing to honor you guys for everything you've done in this sport.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
I would love to do that. We'll definitely do it next month for sure. I definitely will. We'll talk about the date and such. And yeah, Mick Foley. Whooped. Oh, I know ICW. Yep, that was. I think Sean Jovi wrestled in ICW. If it's the same ICW in. I think it's the same one I'm thinking of. Yep, in Indiana, right? ICW. But okay, well, good enough. We'll certainly talk about that another time. We were here joined by the legendaries. None other than Mr. Desperado Angel himself, Rodney Casket. We won't hold it against him that Trey Thorne beat him in a match, but we'll certainly talk about more in his career. And yes, I see it. And also the one and only general manager for future Atlanta Pro Wrestling, but forever the general manager of GWC MCWA, Mr. Hardcore himself. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you are here with us, as a reminder, 10 o'clock Eastern time, Osiris from ESW Shockwave You want to hear what he has to say. He just left ESW Shockwave. We've gotten the first interview from him. But until then, if you're on Sportswire Radio and all of our platforms, hang on tight. You go back to your regular scheduled programming. I want to thank everybody that tuned in on the Promo Wrestling Federation YouTube page and the Pride Wrestling Federation YouTube page. But until then, I'll see everybody in a little while. Thank you so much to these guys for everything that they've done for us in this great sport. And I can't wait to see them next month to be the newest members of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, because all wrestling matters. And I'll see everybody in a little while on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station where figuratively and literally